Yeah, I think it just showed up live.
All right, so we're good. Just make sure I can. Black just asked me where it was. He wanted to share it.
Yeah.
Should be good. All right, we got a Let's turn the volume on. Your volume good?
Yeah, it's good.
All right. All right, here we go. All right. Coach Wright is in the building finally.
Absolutely.
It only took some months.
Yeah, man. You know how the grind was, man. We was grinding all year, so man, the time to make it, finally came through. So appreciate you, man.
About time. All right, so let's take it back. High school. You were a Nottingham grad, right?
I am, man. Nottingham grad, played at Nottingham. Of course, my alma mater. So coming back to be able to coach was like a dream. I mean, I kept in contact with Dwayne Ford, who was one of my mentors, and Duke McGrath, who was the boys coach at the time. And they made sure to just like, yo, make sure you take your classes, get certified, because I was interested in coaching. Yeah. And so I needed you to do that. So when I got back home, it was just a matter of me just getting to the school and making it happen. And that's what I did.
What year you graduated?
90.
That's why you got the gray hairs up there.
Yeah, man. I'm a young oldie.
So you balled too, right? When you were at him?
I did, yup. Played with Craig Caldwell, Darvin Levette, Dorsey, Bernell Reed. That was my kind of class of the year I went. When I look back at that time, and I mean, I don't think I realized I didn't know basketball until I left school. I learned a lot from Craig Caldwell, and I didn't realize that until I got to my college year and everything kind of sunk in.
Where'd you go to school?
I ended up going to Alfred University.
What'd you major in when you first went?
Sociology. When I first went, it was business, and I realized that I only wanted to do business because I wanted to sit behind a desk. And that went away real quick, man. The sociology was it. It was always that. Just always loved working with people, talking to people. So it was an easy transition. And my college coach, Kevin Jones, is one of the reasons I went there. Really inspirational to me, man. He ended up leaving my junior year. He ended up getting a job in the NBA overseas when they first started kind of like doing stuff. He was working in over there, and I want to say Germany, man. I might be wrong, but and then Tom Spanbauer was my assistant coach. He is now the head coach at Cortland's, been there for almost 20 years. Another one of my mentors. I learned a lot of basketball from him. A lot of basketball. Hold on a second.
Got you.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So you did all 4 years at Alfred, right?
Yep, I did 4 years in Alfred, and then left there and came back home and got right into it. Before that, though, I mean, I got to give love to Mickey Walker because Mick was the first one that got me into basketball, like really coaching. I was like 17, and he would take me around and go with him to different places. And I remember he had me put a team together that had like John Wallace and Mike Timmons and a bunch of people, man. And I fell in love with the aspect of doing that. So
Would you so your first year at Nottingham, what year was that? You were with the boys, right?
My first year at Nottingham was 1995. It was so I would coach boys, me at the time, Dwayne Ford, Duke McGrath, and then Greg Jones. So I had a great time doing that. We won section 3 one year. So we had a good team, bunch of different kids, man. Have Antoine Rouser, Craig Allen, Jeremy Robinson, Jeremy Barnwell. We had a lot of different kids, man, came through.
What year?
A lot of good guys.
Your first year of coaching, what year was that?
My first year, man, was 2000 actually. 2001. We were there for 5 years, and my head coach Dwayne Ford had left, and Greg and I were there, and they didn't really process us as much. So a very good friend of mine, Pam Odom, had gotten the job at Henniger, of all places. Funny to talk about. And she asked me to come over, and I was a little hesitant. And Greg was like, man, it's basketball. Go coach. So I had never done girls before. I'm just like, man, I don't know about this. But it was the best thing that ever happened to me, man. And honestly, that's the last time Henniger girls basketball has ever had a winning season and went to the playoffs.
It was 2000?
2001. 2001, I'll say. Pam Odom was a head coach. I was her assistant. We had Chachi, who just became the first female Black fired lieutenant. Judy Wright, who was it? Leah Mazzella, that crew. That was the last time, 2000. It was the last time they been to the playoffs. Been the first time in like 15 years, man. So we had that crew, and we were pretty good, man. Ended up losing, I think, to Corcoran or Nottingham in the semis, I believe, or the quarterfinals or something like that. But won the first round. First time they had won a first round game in like 20 years. That's the last time they had a winning season. Last time they made the playoffs.
Damn, you ain't never told me that story.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. So what happened is after that year, Pam ended up getting an administrative job. She had a principal job over at, what's the school over off of South Ave? She got a principal. She got an administration job. So she stopped coaching, and then Greg Jones was named the head coach in Nottingham. And he said, yo, come on home, bro. And I came home and was his assistant during that stretch. And then started coaching JV with him, and it never changed. And then, being able to coach some kids who were already great, man, Cynthia and Sante Johnson, Sophronia Szilard, just a great group of kids, man. And, we won section before everybody talks about CNS, man. Nottingham won the Section 3 championship 6 years in a row. We kind of started that cycle.
So that was your first year when you was with Mr. Jones. That was 02, 03?
2002. That was was it 01, 02?
01, 02?
Yeah, 01, 02, I believe. Yeah.
So you was the head JV coach, or was you and him?
No, I didn't even start JV then. I was just his assistant. Carrie Ann Gifford, who's at Corcoran. I think Carrie Ann is teaching Spanish right now. She was the assistant coach. I didn't take over for JV until I think 2005. Okay. The year after we won the state championship, I think. Shortly after that, maybe 2006, I became the JV coach. So it was
Jones took over for varsity
2001.
So y'all came in and just had monster squad.
Yeah, yeah. We had a squad. I mean, Fred Wheeler was the coach before that. Those kids were already well versed. They knew it. They were already winning. So it just was putting it together. And then we added some pieces. Lillian Daniels that came over from Corcoran. We had Tamaya Daniels. I mean, that crew that we had that graduated, all those kids went to Division I. I mean, so Cynthia went to Syracuse. Sophronia went to Kansas, and then she went to Pitt. Both Lillian and Tamaya went to Howard. So Lillian ended up going for track. Tamaya played basketball. Tamaya played basketball. The only person that didn't was Sinte, but she was probably one of the most important pieces on that team because she was a dog, boy. You wasn't getting past her. She was kind of the rowdy, get everybody going. Kind of like, yo, you say something to my team, I'm gonna punch you in your face kind of kid. Like, she was that glue to the team.
That's what we don't see no more, huh?
Yeah, she was a dog, man. She kept everybody in line. When everybody was fussing and fighting, it was her that kind of kept everybody together. So
come around after that. The state champion was 04-05, right?
Oh, the state championship was 04-05. Yeah, we had won. We had been down and won. I mean, we played against, you got to think about it, that year, and I want to say that year, we played against Epiphany Prince, who had scored 100 points that year, who played in the WNBA. Who else was it? Tasha Harris, who's at SU. We had taken some lumps, man. We had taken a good, we went down and played some really good teams and got ourselves ready, man. And after all those years of losing in the championship, we finally got to the Final Four, man. And I mean, it'd be great for me to get the video, but we won the state championship on a buzzer beater.
You can't find them old videos nowhere. Even
I have the CD, the actual. I have the VHS. I think we're Coach Jones. Yeah, so it was crazy, man. We were played against Adrian Dantley's daughter was on that team in Long Island, and we had taken the ball out of bounds. No, they took the ball out of bounds underneath the basket. It was about maybe 3 seconds left, and the girl was going one way to fake, and she went back out, and they threw the ball, and it got tipped. Sophronia caught the ball and shot it in the air. Just shot it, boom, and that's how we won the state championship, man.
Damn, I know you shot a buzzer beater. What you mean?
Oh my God, it was just most exciting thing in my high school career, coaching career, man. To win like that in that magnitude, man, it was crazy, really crazy.
Was there so after y'all won the state championship, was there federation back then for girls?
Yeah, we went to the federation. That's when we played Epiphany Prince. We played Epiphany Prince in them in a federation. Now you got to think they was beating everybody by 50. Man, we ended up losing that game by 14 points. That's how good we were. And they had who else was on that team? Epiphany. Erica Morrow, who's one of the best at Syracuse University. They had some guns, man, and we held our own, man. We really did.
So y'all played them first. That was the first round of the federation.
That was the first round of federations, man. So we went down there, and then they ended up playing Christ the King, and I think they ended up beating Christ the King, with Tina Charles. That was some. So we played against some guns, man.
The same schools you hear from the city all the way down there. It's always the same.
Oh
school.
yeah. Yeah.
So fast forward after that. So that we'll go 05-06. Is that when Jones went to the boys' side?
No, Jones didn't go to the boys' side. I took over. So it's 2021. I didn't take over until 2010. I was a JV coach in 2000. I think 2006. I took the JV coach, and then I was with them till 2010 is when I started the head coaching position.
Okay. So then we'll skip to 2010. Your first year in varsity. Was that bad or good?
It was all right. We were mediocre. I think my first year I went 11-8 that year. So we were up and down, but we had to change the culture a little bit. And then we got really, really good. We had some young kids coming in, and that crew that finally kind of took us over the edge was with
2014
Shine to Canada, and Aaliyah Wade and Nasita James, Shantisha Bryant. They finally got all together, but you got to think Shine to Canada was being at the time recruited by Nikki McCray at LSU. She got a letter. I got to tell a story about this girl. She gets a letter in a box. She calls me. She says, she's called me Dad. She's like, Dad, listen, I just got a letter from some team. It's got like checkers on it. I'm like, well, what is it? She's like, some team called the Volunteers. I'm like, yo, that's Tennessee. This is how crazy it was back. They didn't even understand the history of what it was, man. But she was getting recruited by Tennessee at that time, man.
Yeah.
So that's how crazy that was for her. But we had a great team, man. That was the best team I had.
Where Tisha at, man? You talked to her? Yeah, I done text her a couple times. She didn't answer me.
She hits me on the book every now and then. She's here, man.
That's where I message her at.
Being mommy and daddy. we miss you, Tisha. If you watching, we miss you, man.
Yeah, Black.
Yeah.
So that was so that senior class, how many of those girls went to school that first year in 2010?
Nobody, because I don't think I had any. I didn't have any major kids. The kids that were good was Deanna Grant. I mean, so you got to think. Let me go backwards a little bit with that, because during that time, man, I was doing that's when I really started AAU. I had gone and traveled with Greg, so we didn't even coach AAU then. Like, we just traveled and supported the kids. So Cynthia and Sophronia, Katie, what's Katie's last name from Corcoran? She played with this guy named Doc, and it was called the Eagles, which was like connected to the City Rocks. And so we just went with them. And that was my first taste of girls basketball at that level. When Boo Williams used to be at, like, oh gosh, where was it at? It was in Virginia, but he didn't have his own facility then. But it was different, man. That was my first, like, oh my God, this is real. And that's when I really, really started getting into it.
You didn't come. So that 2010, that was your first year of AAU?
Yeah, that's when I first really started getting to AAU. I started my own little program called Syracuse Elite, and I had those kids, and we were just local. And then we started traveling a little bit. We went up to Penn State. Was when that was like when it was really big. And so, but it was nothing real. And until I hooked up with Keith Danzy. Mm-hmm. Met up with him. We talked a little bit, and I'm like, man, I have a couple kids, but I don't have the program that's, really ready to challenge. And that's when I connected with City Rocks. He was like, yo, why don't you bring your kids to me? And that was Cheyenne, Canada, Shartisha Bryant, and Asita James. And I'm like, yo, let's do it. So I had to realize I had to let go what I was doing, because I was doing a disservice for the kids. I couldn't really get them to that next level. And I knew Keith knew people, and I knew people just from my travels with Greg. Mm-hmm. And I met some people, but I didn't have a strong enough base to barely start something that was going to really expand to give kids the opportunity to really travel and play at a high level. And you got to think, Syracuse, there was no major AAU programs for girls here. They had the Unity Wildcats, but quite frankly, it was no kids that looked like kids like me, or, you know what I'm saying? They didn't have any kids of color on that team. And so I just said, we got to do something for our kids.
So how many years? So what you did City Rocks for? It was 3 years?
I did City Rocks for 4 years, man. I did City Rocks all the way up until 2015, because this is my 6th year in my program. Yeah. So yeah, almost 4 years, man. Learned a lot from Keith, learned a lot from the grind, met a lot of good people. Really got my base of connecting with college coaches. Did a lot of camps. I worked a lot of camps. Really grinded to get to know people.
All over the world, or just New York?
Nah, just all over, man. I went to a lot of camps all over, really worked with people, met a lot of people. And that's what kind of got my base, but I met some good people along the way and kind of started things. And that was what eventually we said, listen, we got a base here in Syracuse. We're going to make this thing happen, man. We had the kids. Danielle Roush was the most important piece of the puzzle, because everybody knew her and everybody wanted to play with her. Mm-hmm. So my assistant director, Scott Gantos, he knew a lot of people in the Buffalo area, and we connected with a guy named Nick O'Neill out of Buffalo. He brought his kids. We put the kids together, and that's really how I-90 was started. Adidas reached out to us, and we had a contract our first year. So first year of our program, we were under Adidas gauntlet. So
take it back. I know I asked you this back in the day, but the I-90, you got it just for the area that we're all in, right? Is that
no.
Where you came from?
Well, so Scott, let me tell you, so this is how I-90 came about, man. Me and Scott Gantos are sitting at the Chili's restaurant talking about how we're going to do this and what we're going to come together. And we were trying to come up with a name. And then we just came up with S, like Syracuse something. It was like, no, we can't really represent Syracuse. We've got a lot of other kids. And so he came up with the name. He was like, yo, what about Interstate 90? And I was like, Interstate 90? I'm like, nah. He said, listen, we got all these kids from, so he was like, I-90. And so while we're in the restaurant, I still got the original napkin that I wrote. I came up with our design, everything. And I'm like, yo, let's go with I-90. It was either I-90 Select, and then he was like, nah, let's go I-90 Elite. And that's how I-90 Elite was formulated.
Beat that.
And that's how we came up with it. And then we had the kids. Like I said, once we got the kids from Syracuse and Buffalo, we put it together. We started bumping. Still, nobody knew who we were until we got to Dallas, Texas.
In 2015 or 2016?
We went to Dallas, Texas, man. We wrecked shop. And everybody was like, we went to the Super 64, which is one of the biggest tournaments in the country. Everybody was like, yo, who is I90? Well, we went down there, took care of business, handled our business, man. And that's pretty much what launched us. I mean, we were, after that first year, we were ranked top 100 in the country.
Who was on that first team that was down there? So
Danielle Rouse, Andia Ziegler, oh my gosh, other Buffalo kids, Meg Hare. I mean, it was a lot of kids.
So they were freshmen they were freshmen that year?
They were sophomores. They were sophomores, man. We were young. We didn't really graduate. Amani Free, Sydney. Oh my gosh, Sydney's from Albany area. It was a lot. We had a lot of kids mixed from all over the place, man. Really at that time, we didn't have no Rochester kids. It was pretty much Syracuse, Buffalo, and Albany.
That's how times have changed, huh?
Yeah. Times have definitely changed.
That so we'll just go based off of that year. How many of those kids went to college?
We only had 2 graduating seniors and 3, and they all went to college. So we had Tess. Oh my gosh, can't remember Tess' last name. She went to Townsend, and Dia Ziegler went to Canisius, and then Corey. I forget Corey's last name. She went to Division II school. So that was our first year, kind of. That's what it was. And then our next year, we had a graduating class, and that was a big graduating class. We had all of those kids go Division I or Division II. And so you talk about Danielle, Meg. Danielle went to Michigan. Meg went to UPenn. We had a kid go to St. Francis, PA. We had a kid go to Central Connecticut. We had a kid go to Elon. We had a kid go to Clarion. We had a kid go to HBCU. That whole team. We had a kid go to Hartford. Azaria Wade from Syracuse.
So that was the beginning then, huh?
That was the beginning. That was our first class, and everybody on that team, everybody went scholarship that year, and we kind of set the tone.
What so we'll go fast forward back to high school basketball at Nottingham after that season. 16 was that 16, 17? That my first year with you?
Yeah, I believe you this year 4 with you, man.
Yeah.
So that was 17, 18 his first year with me.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay. So that was those seniors. Who was that? Was that China and them that were seniors?
Yeah, that was China and them. Yeah. That was China Butler. I want to say Momo. Who else was it? Love Nicholson, maybe.
I can't remember who it was either.
I don't know if Love, yeah.
Shatan and Momo too were seniors. That was that.
Yes.
That was my first year.
Yes. Yep.
So coming off that good AAU season, going into that Nottingham season, could you see was there a drop off from basketball?
Not really, because AAU is so different, man. In terms of just the level and girls getting after it, they didn't translate a lot from high school. You know what you get from the city, man. You gotta know who your kids are. You don't really have tryouts. You have practice.
Yeah.
So first day come along, you know exactly who's coming in the gym. You know exactly who's playing. I don't think I've ever had tryouts, and ever since I've coached. You're going through practice. You have a couple kids who are trying to get in, but it's different, man. The level of competition, the level of work ethics, it's just different. So you go down a little bit. And I had that group. The group I had was that 2014 group, I believe, that they all wanted it like that. They were very successful in everything they did. And then it dropped down a little bit, but the Jakia Howards and Amaya's, and then Lauren, those kids were like 7th, 8th grade starting to come up. So that next group started building shortly after that.
That was my next question. Where do you think that dip off took place at? After 14?
Probably after that, because
around everywhere.
So, and this is no negative. I know people look at it as a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, but the SAS effect. Charter school. So, and not even SAS, but also ITC. You have kids now that have other options to go to. And so you lose kids from that perspective. And not just because of basketball, just in general. I know for sure, after doing the history, there were 9 kids over a 3-year span that played basketball at the modified level and were in our quadrant and then left and went to ITC and didn't even play basketball.
Hey.
Because ITC is specialized. You know, you're going there, you have to apply to get in and all that stuff. And so if those kids who went over there, they didn't want to play because they would have been playing for Fowler. But those are kids who would have been at Nottingham in our system. You see what I'm saying? And then you have the SAS. You know, they come in as a charter school and exciting new school. You know, shit, my daughter goes to SAS, so I get it. So you lose kids with that. So we have never really been affected by it until this year. So you talk about the translation of kids who are now, you look at the kids who are there now who are in our quadrant, in our district, who would be at Nottingham, you know what I'm saying, or would be at whatever other schools that they live at. So
who was first? Was SAS was first or ITC?
I believe SAS was, I don't know, it might be close, man.
Because my first year coaching was at ITC, and that was in 15, 16.
So
it was SAS
was first because Reggie's been there as long as I've been there. I think he's probably been there, got to be at least 10 years.
2010?
Maybe. I might be wrong, but I remember maybe it's shortly after that.
I'm going to ask him. And then ITC is just, I think they were after. Because that school was new though. When I went through that school, that building was new though. So that was 16, 17. So it was probably, I think 13, because they were like class D or C when they both started out, right? Weren't they?
Yeah. And then they eventually moved up. So I think I see us a little bit before ITC, giving them different options. But even now, like you still have different academic options to go to schools. So if you're an 8th grader at H.W. Smith, you could pretty much go everywhere you want.
Yep.
Because you're choosing, if you want to do, I'm just giving an example, nursing or something, then you go to Fowler. If you want to do technology, you go to ITC. You know what I'm saying? So there's
Reggie right here. He said 2012.
2012. Okay, so yep, 2012. So
besides that dip off with the charter schools coming, did you just
the private schools as well?
Did you notice that kids were just different too? Like the attitudes, mentalities, and work ethic was just different?
Yeah, a little bit, but you just had to have those kids. I mean, I say it and maybe I'm shaded, but like, there's not too many Amaya Williams that are going to come back.
Nah, everybody know that.
There's just not. And if people don't understand and know, my history of that kid, man, like this kid, and this is a story for people to understand, man. She first started out with me in 8th grade, AAU-wise, right? Went to school with her parents, grew up with her parents, grew up very close with her family. And I told my guys, listen, don't put her on the team just because of me. She's got to make this team. And this was her as an 8th grader going out for I90-Elite. And I'm like, I don't want to do her favors, man. I want this kid to have an opportunity. And my boy, Troy Miller, was a coach. And he was like, no, I like her, man. So I think she got potential. And to know where she was then to where she is now, I'm telling you, you would not have said this kid was going to be a scholarship basketball player. Because she just wasn't ready. But the work ethics that she puts in, and I always use it as an example because I've never had a kid like that. I mean, I had China Canada, I had Kiara Rouser, rest in peace, who worked, but I'm talking about Amaya comes to the gym for 3 hours and gets yelled and screamed at me, and then leaves to go somewhere else and works out.
You ain't lying.
You know what I'm saying? Like
she really took it. Well, she got better. I came in, that was 9th grade. She was in 9th grade, but she really got better every year.
Every year. Listen, I had a conversation, and I tell people this, with her parents, and I said, "Is this what you want?" She said yes, and I said, "Are you ready for me to push your button?" Well, what does that mean? That mom and dad, your daughter's going to come home crying some days. Are you ready for that? Like, she was like, I'm ready for it. And as you know, Jeff, that kid never batted her eye at me.
Nah, that's
Like,
anybody, any adult in her life.
She took everything I gave her, everything I pushed at her. But, you know, like I said, man, her work ethics, man, are like they're like no other kid, man. And not only that, man, just an unbelievably sweet kid, man. Love that kid to absolute death, man. She's an example for kids, man, in terms of if you really want something, if you put the time in and dedicate yourself to it, it can happen. Because she wasn't a kid that was like, you see her, oh my God, she's going to be a Division I athlete. She had to put time in, man. And at 5'5", 5'6", like, it's tough. You know, so I just say, you know, is to anybody, man, looking at the opportunity for your kid's got to want to show that, you know, grit, grind, that intrinsic motivation to want to get up and do things without being pushed, and then be able to take, you know, someone coming after them and really pushing them to the next level. She wanted it, man. I can't, you know,
while you're on that subject, that started at home for them because Sterling coached football this year at Nottingham with us. And just the knowledge that he gives the young kids while he's still trying to make his way to the league, you can just tell that started at home with him. Because Sterling is a monster athletic too, but he's got a lot of knowledge too, and obviously he graduated from Wagner, which is a Division I school. Yeah, so that definitely started at home with them.
Yeah, no, it definitely did, man. You know, I get emotional thinking about Amaya, man, because she's I don't know, man. She's different, man. She's just different. I don't think I'm gonna miss her probably more than any kid I've ever coached in my life, man. Just in terms of her grit, her fight, her determination, and as you see her getting better from each year. But she went from people don't realize it. She went from 13.7 points a game
to 24.
21. Like that ain't easy, jumping up 7 points. And then, you know, then going through the year she went the previous year and getting, you know, shafted by Syracuse.com, whoever was voting, idiots that were on that voting and didn't put her on. She never let it bother her at all. You know, she asked the question why and then said, okay, I'm gonna figure this out. And then you see the type of year she had this year. She had a chip on her shoulder.
What was it last year? What did she make last year? Was it the All CNY Section 3 or 2 years ago? Was that what it was?
Yeah. The crazy thing about it, people don't realize that she didn't make All CNY, right? But she was higher as an all-state player than all the kids who were ahead of her on All CNY. So that just tells you the just political stuff that I just can't. It disappoints me when people get involved and they allow politics to get in the way. And it's not. I'm not saying that because it's my kid, and anybody would say it. The reality was that she was better. Her numbers were better. Her team was better than most of the kids. She checked off every box, and so never got the answers to tell me why. Like, how do you go about not putting this kid on the team?
I remember that long paragraph. So let's get right into that while we're on that subject. The suburbs and the city schools. Is it more they have more resources in the suburbs than the city schools, or is it more the kids that are out there that are working harder than the kids that are in the city?
They got more resources. I mean, here's the thing, man. People don't need to understand too is in the city schools there's no modified program. I mean, not modified, but there's no freshman. You don't have a freshman program. You know, JD has a program that starts with like 3rd and 4th graders. You know what I'm saying?
And with Jenny too. I didn't even know what Jenny did until they added me on CNY.
Yeah, all they start very young. So you wonder why kids have caught up. And here's the other thing: AAU basketball has provided a format, right? When I coach basketball and watch girls basketball in the years, and people notice Nottingham, when you walked into a gym, Willetta Speece's Nottingham girls basketball team put fear into schools in the suburbs. They did. You can, you know, I talked to the Kevin Brazils and different people they play. It was a scare factor. AAU has allowed that to be different because now kids from all cultures play. And so you have white kids playing and they now are getting used to playing with black kids. And it's like, oh, this is not a fear thing. And not only are they playing against them, they're playing together. So you take it over. And so kids are putting in their work a little different. So in terms of the city and the county, I think there's more opportunities in kind of, I wouldn't call it rec league, but you know, the younger 3rd or 4th grade starting programs, doing things. I've been begging for us to be able to allow some type of 4th and 5th and 6th grade program to start, where we start teaching these kids at a young age, and just if you put them in different quadrants and just let them play, even if it's local, let them play against each other, right? Chachi them do some stuff over at some good work over at Biddy, but it's not just girls, it's mixed.
Yeah, I was just to say the Biddy
So it's harder to be able to build something when you don't have a foundation laid at a young age. You can't get kids, as you know, I have varsity level kids who can't make a layup, who doesn't understand footwork on making a layup. You can't have that. You're not going to be successful.
And then that really hurt us this year, obviously, with COVID and everything.
Oh, absolutely.
They was in that gym over there. Liverpool was in the gym, but the season came around. Nottingham still took care of business.
Yeah, and I got to attribute that to the young ladies that we had, because you're right. There's only, out of our team, there's only one kid that was in the gym. Morley too, because I do know Lauren was in the gym for a little while, and COVID hit, and that kind of got nervous for her. But the only kid who was ever working out was Amaya. But we had a senior-driven group who understood what to do. They knew me. They knew what their expectations were. So we were able to get through. But I can imagine if it was different, we would have struggled even more to be able to get that. So yeah, you do have the resources to be in. And then we didn't have a gym. We couldn't even have a preseason.
He's on the ice skating rink.
Had to go over the different schools. There's a lot of things and factors that put a lot of barriers in front of us, but we're used to it. And so I feel like if you coach any sport in the city, you know how to navigate and get through things and make things work. And I thought we did a good job as a staff in making sure that the kids were still focused and were able to get through everything with COVID.
Yeah, Hicks ain't playing no games this year. He did the same thing with football.
Yeah, no, and as well, people don't say holding kids accountable. I had a parent, I'm not going to bring her up, but I had a parent who thanked me for telling their kid they can't play. You're going to sit for 2 games until you get your grades right. Forget about all this COVID stuff and what's babying, and I get it. Kids going through a lot and doing that, but like you can't come sit to me and talk about you got a 30 because you ain't opened your book. Like, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. And anybody who knows me, like going back to even when I first started, and one of the kids may be on here, I had kids that I sat games for when the interim reports came and they weren't right. So losing, like people with me losing, listen, we don't win, but you're not going to play. And that's always been my motto. It's never going to change my motto. You know that. You've been around me. Like, you're going to do things the right way.
Yeah, my first year
noticed
when
coaches
the weekly report, who sat down starters. I remember.
Yeah, who rather win, and they're, I'm not going to play here. And then the first quarter, you're not playing. That's just, I just think that's always been a model for me to do that. That just, you're doing a disservice to a kid more than anything if you think that they're going to get through this process by not doing what they're supposed to do academically. And as you know, that kid who you may know we're talking about has turned things around, is doing very well. So I'm happy to see that our process with that is good. One thing you just mentioned, Jeff, I do want to go back on a little bit, man, is the state of basketball with girls and boys.
You already know that was next.
And just my disappointment with what I feel like is still a very I don't know. I don't think girls basketball gets enough publicity.
So let me well, I finally my EYBL, the EYBL level. So I follow a bunch of like just media people that go around the world. Like you got the Slam magazine,
Mm-hmm.
got like the Made Hoops. They all have their own media connections. And I go follow, I'm on the internet all the time. So I go follow their pages. They really don't have any girls highlight videos. Page, the one, a guy that I met in Indiana, he's got his own personal page, but he's got a contract with Slam magazine. The only girl on his page in the last 2, because I remember you called me and we talked about this. The only girl on his page in the last 2 years is Paige Buckers.
Yeah. But so let's take a step back to our own Central New York, okay? And people, please listen to me, man, when I say this. So I am extremely happy and proud to see our young men doing amazing things, right? And how the newspaper follows JJ Starling. and like follow Samir Torrance, who I love.
I see it firsthand every weekend with JJ.
Yeah, who I know very well. Sharice's mother is somebody who used to travel with me with her daughter. So they know how my grind and love for them are. I love how Adam Duzinski, how they kind of follow and do these these different questions, right? Why has there not been one young lady who has been followed with the same process? Do you guys know that Jess Cook had over 10 offers?
That was going to be my first.
She had multiple Big East schools following her. No, because they don't do anything. The only girl that got any recognition was Kaya Henderson, which she should have. She's an unbelievable basketball player and deserves everything. So this is no shade to her. But like they do these stories and talk about these AAU programs and how these kids are going to prep school and doing anything. What about our girls? What about girls? There's a lot of girls who are right now being recruited and going through a process with a lot of schools, but you never hear nothing about it. And I've always asked Pat Spatafor, like, yo, we have a local program in your backyard that is sending kids to school on a regular basis. Maybe you guys want to do an article about their process. It would have been nice for somebody to highlight. And it doesn't have to be my kid. It's not the end of all, but there's a lot of kids, a lot of girls who are experiencing the same type of things that the boys are doing, and we don't get no recognition for it. None.
Does he answer you when you message him? Does he get back to you?
All I can do is provide the information and leave it at that. And like I said, it's
every day about that, like that the crew that does it. I mean, they answered me a couple of times on Twitter, but like even with stats, I mean, it comes back on the coaches, but you guys have all this coverage. Why are things coming up? Like games aren't getting. When games get canceled, they find out they don't post it till after, and then back to the media stuff. Like
it's communication. A lot of it's communication, Jeff. Honestly, and then it's just the desire to. You can't say that you're giving equal coverage to things when you're just not writing enough about girls in this area. Like, and again, I'm jaded, of course, because a lot of the girls play for I90-Elite. Okay, let's take away the neither here nor there. But you're talking about
hold on. For the people that don't know. Just name off the senior class this year and the schools that they're going to one more time.
Katie Cunningham's going to Marist. Amaya Williams is going to Central Connecticut. Jess Cook is going to Toledo. Lexi Rowe is going to Niagara. Who else is local? Then the rest of the kids are from other kids. So Ray out of Rochester. Ariana Young is going to Central Connecticut. Ella Wanzer is going to Binghamton. Who's other kid on that team? And then I've had kids who have since moved on. Kaya Henderson was with us. She's now back with the Syracuse Royals. She's committed to Ohio State. Shay Ziske, who probably is a top 25 kid in the country, who has multiple offers from Power 5 schools. I mean, the list goes on, but that list doesn't stop. Right now on my 2023 team, kids like Nevaeh Wingate, Amaya McLeod, Amara Strife. Now, here's the thing that we don't do. We don't publicize a lot of what happens with our kids. We don't. And a lot of people are like, why? But those kids are actively getting recruited right now. Nevaeh Wingate for the last 2 years has been receiving not just letters, but communication via phone with multiple Division I schools. So why don't you guys come up with something just the same way you do with these guys? Hey, but it doesn't happen, man, and that's sad for us not to be able to have other young kids be able to experience and see that this thing that's happening with the boys is also happening with the girls as well.
I would say it's not just up here either. It's all over it, I would say, because I remember a couple of years ago when I asked you, we were somewhere with City Rocks. I said, right, who this girl down here dunking? And it was the girl with the goggles and the braids that went to Stanford. What was her name?
Oh my God, I can't remember. But if we were down at Boo Williams, that happened. We were playing in Boo Williams, that happened.
And then it's kind of, it doesn't make sense. But I'm like, there needs to be like the women's slam side needs to do it. Girls EYBL needs to do it because there's so many small Division I schools that the girls are going to that just don't get any no real coverage either.
Well, I'm gonna talk about that in a minute, but so I'm gonna tell you. There are some exciting things coming to Central New York. That's all I can say. We have some things in the works. without me giving away too much, but there will be some things for women's and girls basketball in Central New York sooner than you will know, in terms of providing a platform and an opportunity for them to have showcases and things sooner than you know. Something for a while, and I'm plugging away at it with a lot of people at different levels. That we're going to have something soon in Central New York to give these opportunities, because Exodus and Thomas does a good job because he's part of Slam. He does great events down in New York, and I know some people are like, oh, why don't we people? It takes a lot to do stuff like that, and it takes a lot of planning, and you got to have facilities and money, But there are good things coming to Central New York and women's basketball. Trust me.
I forgot to mention the program that you guys combined with this year. What was their name again?
I90-Elite out of Buffalo. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Yeah. My man Darren played professionally. Really good dude. We had been playing each other, and he called. He said, "Listen, man, this doesn't make any sense. Let's make this thing happen." And brought his kids, his top level kids, to our program and merged, and has made it a great. It's why. Our 2023, one of our 2023 teams has the potential to be one of my best teams in my program's history. And I say potential because it's a big feat to be able to beat the teams that we just had. But we got a 6'3" kid out of Buffalo who's amazing. Another kid out of Buffalo who can shoots the ball from 25 feet with our eyes closed. And then of course our local kids here. The Amara Strice and the Nevaeh Wingates, man. So we have a special thing going on. And I want to talk about that in senses of, I90-Elite is not the end of all. I want to say that. I'm extremely proud of the work we have done as an organization to provide a platform for young women, young girls to play. But I90-Elite is not for everybody, and everybody ain't for I90-Elite. And I get that. So I'm never going to, I'm not going to chase people. We're going to put it out there. We want people to be a part of what we do. Are we perfect? Absolutely not. But I think we do things the right way. We as a program are well respected in the country. We were a top 50 program in the country. Like, you're talking about 6 years. We're a top 50 program in the country. So, we get these remarks of, I don't want to send my kid to a mid-major program. That's fine. What we're going to continue to do is worry about I90. We're going to continue to put kids in the best position as possible and get them to have an opportunity to go to school for free, wherever that's at.
That's all that matters in the end.
Yeah.
What so for the girls that you got that are out Buffalo, Rochester wise, do you how many are at private schools, and how many would be at city schools, would you say, out that way?
Bishop Kearney's probably the only private school. There's a lot of Catholic schools,
that's what
St. Mary's, but a lot of those schools are out in the suburbs, or the Buffalo Depew. I forgot my kid from Fairport, Bella Pucci. Remember that name, ladies and gentlemen, Bella Pucci. She's special.
Her last year.
Yeah, she's special, man. A lot of kids, the walking kids from Rochester. So there's a lot. We've just tapped into Rochester now. We're getting some really good kids out of there. We're getting ready to expand some things.
With them.
Yeah, we are.
Would you say those kids from the private schools, like at your tryouts, would you say that you can tell that they're more advanced than the local schools and the city schools?
Oh yeah, by far. Those kids are being exposed, at a very, very young age. I mean, you got to think the things that kids here are being exposed to. Like, I mean, and I'm going to go back to you like Mike Zachary's daughter and Adonis's daughter. Man, they've been exposed to basketball at a very young age, right? And so people wonder, those kids didn't just become good overnight. Though Adonis and Mike have been plugging into them the game of basketball, building their IQ, building their skill set. Like, so you don't have that from every kid. You don't have that ability from every parent to take the time and put in there. And that's why it's important. But you see the difference when you have tryouts with our young kids. We've expanded to the point, like, so I have a
sixth grade this year, fifth grade.
We have a fifth grade program. My guy Tony Kinch is running a program out of Albany called the 518 Queens. He's going to facilitate those kids that come to our way. We have a 6th grade team here locally. We have a 7th and 8th grade team here locally as well, but they're not under us yet.
Gotcha.
They are part of I-90. The name is not attached to them, but that will happen. And then 8th grade to 9th grade to 10th grade to 11th grade. So we're moving in a direction of trying to expand. But what we will not do is we're not putting teams together just to put them together. We want to put a product on the floor that's going to speak volumes. And when you put a product on the floor that don't speak volumes, it says a lot about your organization still. So I'm not looking to do 9 and 10 teams just to have 9 and 10 teams. We got to be able to compete. And so that's not always been the case. That's something that we've learned. I've learned as a director. I want to give kids an opportunity, but we gotta compete, man. For us to be able to go and compete against the nationally ranked programs, the EYBL programs, the UAA programs, which I'm going to say that we don't really lose to. just to mention that we don't really lose to.
What so based off, I mean, you run into a bunch of local teams at tournaments once in a while, right? Give me your
rarely.
Give me the best local team that you played in the last few years.
When you say local, in terms of
we got Royals, Nets, City Rocks, Exodus.
Well, local, I wouldn't listen. So here's my credit to people are probably going to be very surprised that I say this, but so the Royals started out pretty much as I probably started out with my local organization, and they got some kids. They probably this year are the most competitive they've been. They have a really good top team. With Kaya over there, couple kids from Rochester, a couple local kids, a kid from the post player. She's freaking good, man. From I forget the school she's at. So they're extremely competitive this year. But overall, locally in terms of Central New York, nah, there has not been. When you get outside of Central New York and we go up further, the Havoc New York's, Terrence Florence's program, we've always had a good bump with each other. We go at each other, very, very good friend. City Rocks has, been strong. Tom Herter's, that group he has right now is pretty good. Their last year group, their 2020 group was very good. I can't speak of what their future is right now. I don't know the organization enough at this point. Exodus is Exodus, man. They are a top-notch program in terms of their ability to carry the EYBL logo and recruit like a mother. I have a lot of history with them going back to when I first started, man. The gentleman who has since passed away some years ago, Apache, man, he gave me an opportunity to do things when I was started out, man. It was just out of love because we worked at basketball camps together. And he called a couple of schools on behalf of a couple of kids for me just because, it was love there. You know what I'm saying? So they've always been respect to them what they do. So you got to think they're getting more kids from the upstate Central New York area. And that's a lot of it because of the EYBL. It's the facade of being a part of a Nike and an Under Armour program. I mean, and I get it, We were part of Adidas. We walked away from Adidas. And as I look back at it, it's probably a decision I probably might not have done. But our first year we traveled, it was limited. And the next year they were like, oh, we're not going to really go far. But they wanted to take us to Phoenix, Arizona for the weekend. I'm like, my kids can't get to the other side of town. And you want to go to Phoenix, Arizona? That ain't gonna work out. So I was thinking about the parents, the families who could afford to travel. It was tough, and so we walked away from that and contract. We've been independent, so we'll see where things go. As I said, as an organization, we're going in the right direction. There will be some things happening sooner than later down the future that I'm excited about. And
you ain't tell me about this. We gotta talk about that.
Yeah,
I call you. So let's go back to the Nottingham and the city schools. Obviously, I'm in year 4. I haven't lost. I lost to Henninger 2 years ago. That was it. So girls basketball comes through Henniger for the city schools, right?
Well, that is possibly yet to be seen. I mean, city, we're in a tough situation right now, Sugar City School District, in terms of athletics. In this terms, I think COVID is really hit hard. As a basketball coach at Nottingham, people will know I have a great support staff, man. Marty, big shout out to Marty, man, Clanton, man. I love you, brother. I appreciate all you do, man. Always connecting me with kids just to let me know. But
all year round with him too.
Right. For the first time, I don't know who's in the building. I don't know the kids. Like, I have not been able to put my hands on kids that I would have originally been all over. And so that makes it really difficult to kind of like build and be able to get in the gym. And as you know, I'm a gym rat. So I want to be in the gym. I want to start working and doing things. And, so there's some apprehension from kids, from parents, and just we're still in a really weird place for COVID. Although things are getting better, it's still there. It's still here. So it's a tough time to transition. I mean, Corcoran had to go through that this year with joining with Fowler. You could not tell me 10 years ago or 15 years ago that our high school programs in basketball would have to join together.
It was three. It was ITC, Fowler, and Corcoran, right?
Yeah, like it's crazy, man. It's crazy. So I am an optimist, and I'm optimistic that we'll figure this out, and that we'll get some kids. And I'm gonna tell you, like, whatever kids we get. I've never been fearful of playing anybody. If we win, we win. If we don't win, we don't win. And if you notice, I don't use the L word. I'm not afraid not to win. So we'll get the 8 or 9 kids, we'll put them on the floor, and we'll go play. I will not avoid league games. I will not avoid playing people. I won't do that.
So while you're on that, what do you think should happen when that happens? Who should make that final decision when a game can't be made up between two city schools? That's been a rivalry.
That's above my pay grade. So, as a coach, I just request that we make those things happen. And then if the other coaches are not willing to do it, then that's a shame. It's a shame that this year that no city schools played each other in girls basketball.
I don't think people probably don't understand that or know that either.
Do you understand that happened this year? I don't think people understand that did not happen this year. That city schools did not play each other. So, again, above my pay grade, it's unfortunate it happened. But, if I'm going to take a bus and go play CNS and go right past your school to go play CNS, then I can take a bus and go play you. So I get the whole people are concerned about the recruiting thing and all that. But it's just a shame that this is where it's come to. That we don't want to face it up. Like, so next year is going to be very interesting that how many people call Nottingham for a game. See, the big bad wolf is coming down the hill. So now people going to want, and guess what? The wolf is still going to bark and he going to roar because we're not going to go nowhere. We're going to play, we're going to man up, and we're going to play whoever the schedule provides us to play.
So let's talk about, Black said, let's talk about 1,000-point scores for girls' side. Does Nottingham have the most?
Absolutely.
And would Henniger or Corcoran come in second, would you say, for that?
Corcoran would be probably second. I mean, you got kids who are definitely, and I don't know I have to really dig deep to look in it, but I mean, clearly the 2 kids that come right to mind, Camille Murphy and Samira Owens. But there's a lot more than that. I know we're at almost 17.
Yeah,
I counted for,
I was going to say 15, but it's 17?
Yeah, it might be close to 17 when I counted for Nottingham. Amaya has moved up the ranks. I'm so disappointed of us not having a full season because she would have been close to Sophronia Soulard at over 1,500 if we had a season, probably even up the ranks to be in top 5, which would have been a huge accomplishment for that kid. She just barely got past. I think she passed Pam Odom. So I think she's close to 1475 or something like that she's going to finish out her career with. But I think we're close to 16 Nottingham players who have been over girls basketball that have been over 1,000.
So let's go to girls in middle school. I mean, kids in general, middle school, but because we coach girls, we'll stay on the girls' side. When the coaches try to get these kids in middle school, when that situation escalates, who makes that decision on who can go where? Say if another school has a kid in the gym that's not in their quadrant, and they're trying to get that kid to go to that school. Who's that? Is that decision up to the people downtown or April and them? Who's that? I never asked you who's that decision up to.
Again, I think that's a conversation that, coaches would have with ADs and ADs would have with, administration. At this point, it's an open market. So honestly, as an 8th grader right now, you have the choice to go wherever you want to. You do not have to. If you're at HW Smith or at Ed Smith, you do not have to come to Nottingham, because all you can say is, I want to be a part of whatever program that may be, and I can go to Henniger or I can go to Fowler and not have to have an address or anything attached to that. Now, what I will say is, if there's a kid at Corcoran who is interested in coming to Nottingham, I'm going to let the process take its place and be very upfront with the parent. This is what has to happen. Leave it at that. I'm not going to text the kid. I'm not going to be calling the kid to come over. I'm not going to have conversations with the kid inappropriately about what they should or shouldn't be doing. Like, that's when you get the out-of-pocket stuff, But right now, the way the system is set up, it's provided that when you're in 7th, 8th grade, you can choose where you want to go. And so that you may see that happen a little bit more if kids are geared towards going to one school or another.
Are you surprised that parents aren't sending the kids all to the same schools to build a powerhouse?
I am.
Me too.
But as as I have some good friends who I've told that, I think it is their right of parents to make the best decisions for their kid, and I'll leave it at that. Like, in a perfect world, you look at the programs that we've had over the last, let's just say 10 years in the city, right? And the success rate of those programs. I want to send my kid to a successful school that's winning and giving kids the opportunity to be better. So you would think that kids would or parents would follow that suit, but that's not always the case. So
I say the same thing about the
yeah, and I just think it's different. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having options. I think that's what it is, man. I mean, like I said, SAS, you got an option to go to SAS. Like I'm here as a component to say that. My youngest daughter goes to SAS. And that's where I felt like I needed to send her. My oldest daughter does not. She's at Nottingham. So it's about knowing your kid and what you think is the best thing for them. So I don't really frickin' frack at that. I mean, I mentioned the other thing about the private schools, but there's some private school kids that would be in Nottingham right now who would be rocking and rolling. But again, parents got to make the best decision they think is for their kid.
Absolutely. So when obviously you talk to a lot of coaches, a lot of college coaches on a regular.
Mm-hmm.
What are some things that they ask you? The first questions they ask you when recruiting kids of this generation?
Their motor that I've been having. It's funny. I was in a car ride home this past weekend from practice, and I had a young lady with me, and a college coach happened to call. And usually I would shade the phone call, but I kept her on over the phone. I wanted her to hear the conversation. So when I say things, it's like I'm not making things up. So we talked. I talked to this college coach for about 20, 25 minutes on the way back. And she was just saying, just it's tough with the new COVID and everything. But, when we're excited to see you guys play, we just want to see girls who want to be there, who have a motor, who play with a sense of passion. Right. And they're talking about the kids who know how to play with each other. And so I'm going through this thing about, when you bring kids from different areas, man, everybody wants to just be separated. And how do you connect with knowing who your teammate is, really getting to know them, because it shows on the floor, especially when you traveling all over the place and, I got to go play with a bunch of kids from Buffalo who I don't know, or Buffalo kids got to play with Syracuse kids. So what I do with my kids, and they hate it, I give them assignments every week. You got to tell me 10 things about that kid that you don't know and report back to everybody. And then I got to do the next week is you're gonna find out what her 5 future short-term and long-term goals is. I really make them talk. They don't understand it, but I'm like, you need to know who you're playing with. You need to trust the person that you're with. So, we had this conversation, the coach is on it, and I didn't say anything, but the coach is on the phone saying exactly the same thing. Like, yo, you got to trust your teammates. You got to get to know them. You got to build a rapport, and really having that motor. And then, now with things being so different, man, some schools, they're not just throwing offers out. The portal is real.
I know,
it's real.
I can't believe how many kids are in this portal right now.
It's real. And so I'm not maybe willing to take a chance on a high school kid or a kid who hasn't figured it out yet. I'm going to go pick a kid out of the portal who's already proven that they can do this or that and bring them in, and they're ready. They're college ready, So I just tell kids, man, that you got to be working on your craft and you got to be ready to go if the opportunity provides itself. And my phone has rung a lot since we played in Spooky Nook, man. People watched us play. Yeah. They seen what you could. So I told them that they're watching you,
How much effect do you think that parents have on their kids' futures and recruiting basis? Do you see it more nowadays that the parents are hurting the kids more than they're helping them?
Not as much. I think we do as a program do a good job of communicating with families and parents. I think there could be things that happen. I will just say social media is really real. I have probably about 100 coaches on my Facebook page. And I tell parents that they're watching you. They're not only watching you, but they're inquiring about you. They're watching how your behavior is on the sidelines. Is your kid always looking at you? You know what I'm saying? They're paying attention to those things. And you'll hear coach say, even to now is my program, I'm not just recruiting your daughter, I'm recruiting you. Mm-hmm. If you don't seem to fit into the morals and the values that we carry as a program, I'm all set. And I can care less how good you are.
And then off of that, do you think social media is hurting more kids than it's helping them?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, I had a kid lose a scholarship last year over social media.
Oh, right.
I did. I had a kid lose a scholarship over social media. Now, I've always talked about it, having heard from other programs and directors about kids who they lost, but I experienced that last year. I experienced it where you think that coaches are like, oh, send me your IG or send me your Twitter. Like, you think that's just random? They request those things if you fill out forms now. IGs and what is it, Snapchat, Snapback, or whatever it is.
They're stalking those nowadays.
They're looking at that. They're looking at those things. They want to see what you're doing, how you giving it up. You talking recklessly. You doing them like, oh yeah, cross her off the list, coach. And then they want to see what the parents doing too. So it's a lot, man. And so we have these meetings. And we talk to our parents about it, and we just give them the information and say, listen, this, trust the process, and everybody's process is going to be different. You can't look at your neighbor and see and look at your neighbor and wonder, well, why is my neighbor's grass cut a little bit better than mine? Like, seriously, you can't. Well, you might have to go out and work. So everybody's process is different. I've had kids who at the 12th hour received offers. And that is absolutely based on relationships. And I think people think it's just about kids being good. You know how many good basketball players there are in the country? There's a lot.
Yeah.
And so I say to people, there's a kid who's just like you, same size, same height, same weight, same everything. And they might get the call just because your coach knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody and has made a call. And that's the bottom line. And so what I do, cherish on is building relationships and being extremely honest and upfront with college coaches. And I get calls and saying, listen, you know what? I'm calling you because.
You told me that from day one when I
Absolutely.
first
Yeah, I get calls all the time. Just I literally in the car ride, and that's why I'm glad this kid was in the car with me. And one of the things coach is like, listen, I appreciate you so much for being upfront and honest, because I can call you and I trust that you're going to tell me the truth, and that's what it's got to be about. I can't sell you a bad apple, and then you like, well, dog, Randy, I thought I was getting a nice sweet apple, and you sold me for that. Nah, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I'm not gonna kill a kid. We want the kid to win because if she wins, we win. But at the same time, I got to give you your goods. I got to give the positives and the negatives. Your strengths and your weaknesses. And so that's the building relationships part with college coaches that you have to have, and they have to be able to entrust that you're providing them a product that's not going to get them fired in 2 years.
So let's go to, you obviously had one of the top players in the area leave your AAU program this year.
Yep.
That's something that the parents came to you about? I mean, we won't just speak about her, but in general, when someone leaves and goes to another program, are parents coming to you, or is it the kid mentioning to you, or is it them trying to play two programs at once?
You know what? Sometimes it happens. I got to give it so I've had a couple, we'll talk about Kaya a little bit. Kaya's great, man. She's a great kid, man. Had a great time with her. She's been with other programs and just wasn't the right fit. So I get it. We no love lost. Played with an amazing team. The team that she's had on played with. I mean, you can't. She potentially played with a top 20 kid in the country. And so I don't think it gets any better than that. But a lot of it is not about talent, but comfortability. Who you're playing for, who you're playing with, and then you get with my kid Shay. Special, and as people know now, people didn't really know, but that was probably the hardest for me, because as a director and as a coach, I'm doing a lot to make sure that a kid of that magnitude is getting the opportunities to be seen at the top levels. So I have to be able to send her out and play against other kids and be in situations where, literally the conversation I had with her was like, listen, you get ready to go to this event, there's going to be 5 or 6 coaches trying to recruit you. Just be aware of it. I gotta tell them the truth. And then be prepared that hopefully they stick in with it. And so I did. I got respectful phone calls and saying that, we were sorry, but we're going to move on. And for that, I can't compete with EYBL. And not in terms of that, I can't. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the opportunities that she had with me would be more than she had with EYBL. She had a lot of Power 5 looks and a lot of Power 5 opportunities. Since leaving me, she's had multiple more. So, it's difficult, but I'm just different in the sense of that. Listen, you got to do what's best for your kid. Wish you the best, and we'll move on, and we'll figure it out. And that's what you do. Now, my situation has been good, but I know that not everybody's situation is like that. There's a lot of kids. One of the top kids who left Boo Williams just went to the UAA team. A bunch of kids just left Philly Bells when they lost their EYBL. A lot of kids left and went to Philly Rise. A lot of kids left and went to Exodus. New Jersey Sparks lost a bunch of kids to Exodus. So I'm not prone like anybody else. It's open. It's open season right now, man. And
you see on the boys' side too that everyone's. I mean, if the kid doesn't like the coach, the parent don't like the coach, you just jump and ship.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I mean, the same thing with the transfer portal. I mean, there's got to be loyalty somewhere. Or what do you just out there doing nothing? You're for yourself. You're not trying to build nothing. You're just out there for yourself.
And I think part of it is that, man. I mean, I don't know what is being told to these parents, some of the parents, and some of the about sticking it in and fighting in, and what exactly you're looking for. Sometimes they want their kid to be the one and the only one. And I'm like, that's not realistic to when you get to the next level.
EYBL teams. I mean, on the boys' side with us, you got kids that are going to go Division I that are averaging 8-9 points a game.
Yeah,
but they got an impact. They got an impact on the game.
Listen, before I coached City Rocks, when I knew Keith, Brianna Kiesel, who is playing in the WNBA, was coming off the bench for his team. Coming off the bench. That's how good they had. Rachel Coffey. They had this kid from I want to say from Alabama, who was unbelievable. And he told me, Keith said, I got this kid, she can jump around, whatever. 2 plays come down, they throw alley-oop to this kid. She catches the ball out the air and smacks the backboard. I said, oh, wow. Brianna Kiesel was on that team and came off the bench. She went to Pitt, people. She's one of the best basketball players in Pitt's history, played in the WNBA. So if you can get kids and families to buy in, just buy in and lock in. Because if you have a really good team, it's likely that your top, like think about my team that we just had. Every kid on that team is going high Division I. Like you're going to have to give up a shot or two every now and then. So it's a buy-in, man. That just has to happen. And if it's not, then go be the star somewhere, and your team's not going to be very good. You got
your girls obviously stay with you, so you got some good families in your program, huh?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely do. Thankful for the families that I do have. I mean, it's not easy, man. You're not gonna make everybody happy.
No way to.
It's impossible to. And I've learned, man. I got to understand things that looking at the program as a whole, over the things that I got to make sure I do for everybody. Like, I had a top team last year. We have a top and a bottom team for the most part. We do have some teams that are very equal that we play, and that's just the way it bounces. But, I had to look at last year, and I probably did a disservice to my second team by not putting out information the right way. Here I am being the man to say that. So I overlooked the fact when I spoke about my team that I'm like, our 2021, 20 class all win Division I, but I forgot to mention that I had a second team. And so that doesn't always look good to the families, man. And it sometimes can send the wrong message that, you don't care about us. So I had to take that on my back and say, you know what, I apologize, I was wrong for that. Let me make that right, because what we have been, and I used to use the word spoiled. Well, we're not spoiled, we're fortunate. We have been a fortunate program to be able to send so many kids to full scholarships. I've always said at some point that's not going to happen all the time. And so when it doesn't happen, we got to be prepared that playing basketball at Division I, Division II, or Division III is a luxury. I think people think it's Division III, and we're in the business of sending kids to school for free. But if it doesn't happen, we're still happy for them. We still want to make sure that we are supporting them and putting all that good information out. So those are things like that I'm learning to do better with, and to make sure that as much as I pound out the kids that we're sending Division I and Division II, that I'm also giving love to my kids who are going to Division III as well.
How is you got any parents that coach their kids in your program?
Only up to 9th grade. One of our rules is you can't coach your kid after 9th grade. You can be in the program still as a coach. We want you to be a part of that, but there's too many blurred lines with that. If you're coaching your kid, it's not a good look for them or the other team. So we try to just separate that as much as possible. And I'm happy with what we are as a program. I have 3 Division III college coaches on my staff, who have a lot of experience, man. JC Brooks out of Cortland has been at Bowling Green, was at St. Bonaventure. She's a big time winning coach at Cortland right now. Man, I learned so much from them. Even my young coaches, man. Jordan Voss I just brought in from Utica, man. And this young brother is amazing, man. I'm watching him. Yeah, man, watching him just. I like to pick up anything from anybody and just incorporate it, man. So, and giving people opportunity to coach, to be who you are. And I think we do a good job of that program. We run things as a program that everybody knows, but we also let people be who they are and build. And so I'm happy with the direction we've gone to. And then to the 2 coaches who have been with me from day one, man, and that's Tony Kinch and Troy Miller. Those 2 dudes have been with me since the grind, since we started this thing with City Rocks. And when we made the move, they came with me. And my success, our program success, wouldn't be successful without them 2 brothers, man, putting things in work. And of course, Scott Gantos, who's my assistant director.
How's your take on teachers coming before people with basketball knowledge in the school districts? I don't think I've ever asked you that.
Well, the funny thing is, man, that was one of the reasons where we didn't get an opportunity to coach boys. It would probably be different. I probably wouldn't be having this conversation. Greg Jones had applied for a position back then, years, and it was big that you had to be a teacher. So you're talking about back in 2000? Back then, it was not a big thing of having coaches who coached outside of the district being in the district coaching. That wasn't really looked upon as a thing. So it has now started to go away, and you're seeing more coaches who are not maybe attached to a district, even in the suburbs. Not all the coaches are working at that school. Ryan Blackwell at Liverpool, I don't believe he works at the school. If I'm wrong, I don't think he does.
Yeah, he's the ISS teacher.
Oh, he is at Liverpool?
Yeah, I just found that out myself.
Oh, okay. So I apologize. I was wrong about that. But I know a lot of coaches, they just don't. You know what I'm saying? I worked at Nottingham for some years, but I didn't work there, and they brought us in. But at first, that was a big issue of, no, we got to give teachers the opportunity first. But I think now, I think administration, April has done a really good job of just making sure that they get the right person who wants to work. And this is important for young coaches, man, to really understand this. So all those years I coached, before I became a head coach, I never got a dime. Okay. And I coached the same way as you can ask Greg Jones. I would come to JV practice, varsity practice, and stay and coach my butt off and go scouting and do all the things. That never changed for me. So today, you ask somebody right now, yo, the district is falling back. Our school cannot pay you anymore. I guarantee you probably half the coaches wouldn't coach.
Yeah.
I've never done this for money. This has never been so now I got a lot of young people. The first thing they want to know is, yo, how much you get paid? Yo, it ain't the money. I can tell you that. It ain't the money.
When you start coaching, it ain't supposed to be about the money.
I mean, it's not, man. You don't get, I don't think, because somebody's like, oh, what'd you get? Like 20, 30,000? I wish.
Yeah.
You spend a lot of time away from your families, and sacrifice a lot to do the thing you love, but it's not about money, man. It's you got to really want to be there. And for me, I only know one way to coach. I know how to go. I got a practice plan. I'm going to go scout. I'm going to watch film. I'm going to prepare. I can't do it any other way. I can't take breaks off of that.
No, I think anybody that knows you knows that.
I can't. I'll be doing a disservice to the kids. Even when I had teams that only won 5 games, I still watch film. I still prepared a practice plan. I still gave them a scouting report. We still had film sessions. You know what I'm saying? Like I've never walked away from not doing that. So I think that's important, man. That young coaches today, man, I know finances a lot, but like focus on the grind, man. It'll come back to you twofold. It really will.
That's what I stay with Tucker with City Rocks forever. I mean, until he's done, just because, I mean, he's been there 27 years.
Oh, good dude, man. Just learn a lot.
He check on me every other day. And I mean, I just learned stuff from him. Obviously, Jim Hart has a passion for coaching too. I mean, I learned a lot from him. And then, right, like this year, I'm with D King. And he brings his passion into it. But AAU is just a different world, man. I can't stand watching the run and gun. I'd rather see a couple plays up and down the court, and then I leave a mental note in my head that if I'm going to be the head coach one day, you got to have some sets in an AAU game along with some out of bounds plays. You can't just have the kids running out there looking bad, because when the college coaches are watching, they're going to ask, can the kid play in the system or not, or what are their best attributes for the team?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, man, because I think AAU gets a bad rap.
Yeah, nowadays.
Yeah, I think it does, man. And there's some coaches locally who dog it out, and until you walk into our practice and walk into our program, don't dog what we do. We're very organized in what we do, man. We teach. We don't just roll the ball out and say go play. And I think that's the thing. I think a lot of people from the outside think that's what goes on. And I know that there's some bad AAU. There is. The traveling of kids going all over the place, being flown in from this city to that, and you don't get a chance to bump. I get it, but man, we out here working, man. We're really trying to teach fundamentals and teach. And I say this, and there's any of my college coach friends watching, man, they will tell you, the biggest compliment I90 gets is, coach, man, we love the way your kids play. Your kids play the right way. And it's a tribute to my coaching staff, for coming in there and doing the things they do, man. To the Kevin Goods who gives it up, man, who comes in and does drills and all the things that he does in Rochester, to the Sean Pinkertons, man, to the J.C. Brooks, the Tony Kinches, man, the Sidney Uris, the Kelly Owens, Kelly McCauley's, man. These people are giving up their time, and we're not in there just playing around. We're trying to teach and build mindset, build family, and have an impact on their lives that lasts longer than just a basketball game.
That's the thing, because and during AAU season, you're spending money every weekend. You ain't getting no money in AAU. You're doing that for the passion of the game. No,
it's definitely for the love of what you do. And I didn't realize how much I was happy. Part of it is like, man, I need a break. I need a break. And COVID hit, and it was a time off. But man, I just, the first time being in the gym, man, again was so just, man, it was just falling in love again. It's like the first time you seen that girl turn around the corner, like, who is that? I got to get her number. That's how it was for me back. I just was like, oh my God, I was in love again, man. I just loved getting back to teaching and building. And so that's the passion you have to have, man. And I think that's what, everybody's trying to do, man, to get it back right.
I like doing the girl stuff, and then looking at the boy stuff for AAU and just seeing how there's like a big difference from the top players down. You can see you can see who worked during COVID, and you can see who didn't work during COVID for sure.
Oh yeah. I took this little saying from my old firearms instructor. The time to fix a roof is when the sun is out. And I say that to my kids, and they look around like, what? Yeah, the time to fix the roof is when the sun is out. And so some of you just been, lazying out, and all of a sudden now it's raining cats and dogs, and you want to figure out how to get your game right. It's too late. Like
if you wasn't trying to get into a gym during COVID, you're not a real basketball player.
Come on, man. Like you know who wants it, man. And I say, who wants it, who doesn't. Everybody's going through the same thing. I get the kids, and I know it's mentally been tough on people and trying to figure this out. But man, if you really want this, and you really, really want this, man, you really do. And I've learned to leave people alone. In my younger years, I used to push, man. I used to push. And now I just don't, man. You got to tell me. My thing is, tell me if you want me to push your button. If you don't tell me,
a lot of kids can't handle that nowadays.
Then nope, I'm not pushing it. I'm not bothering you. I'm not making you come to the gym. I'm not, doing all this stuff. If you want to come to the gym, call me. I'll be there. It's kind of one of them things. But like, it started probably 5-6 years ago when I would have open gyms, and like I had 1 or 2 kids. And I'm like, I'm not even setting hours anymore. I'm just gonna say, whoever wants to call to the gym, call me, and I would still get 1 or 2 kids.
I remember talking about that all the time with you.
It's just, that's the difference now. Like, we have an open gym, you got 2 kids in the gym. Like, how can you? You know what I'm saying? That's hard to build programs and have success with teams if you can't get kids in the gym right now. JD, CNS, West Tennessee, all these schools are having their young programs started and up and going. And so that's what we got to get back to get the city back, to get the city basketball back. At least on the girls' side, I think the boys' side is going to be fine. They seem to be still thriving. But on that girls' side, it's a little difficult right now. So we'll see how that works out, man. There's a lot of things happening. There's a lot of positions opening up all over the place. So it'll be interesting to see where people land at next year.
So what do you got going on the rest? You going away this weekend?
Just practice this weekend, and then next weekend we were supposed to be in New Jersey.
Stay away from there.
Yeah, so they just moved it where it looks like we're gonna be in Philadelphia. So I'm looking forward to that, because that's a big bump. We're gonna get a chance to play against, the Nike teams will be there, the UA teams, Adidas teams, man. So, my kids are gonna get a challenge that's different. We had a good first weekend. The competition was solid, but I told them we're gonna, feed us to the wolves. I want to play the best. We don't play nobody less than the best. We don't want to be in no brackets. That's, no, we play top brackets in everything we do. You're gonna know who you are before you leave that weekend.
What you had 17s down there in Spooky Nook, didn't you?
I had 16s. I had 16s. Yeah, I had the 2023. So, like I said, I'm ready to. We're gonna war with anybody, and we got a very good group, solid at every position. We got the size, the athleticism, the shooting, the guard. So, there's no fear in what we do and who we go after, who we play.
We go to Broad. We got practice this weekend, and then we go to Boston, and then the weekend after that we're in Albany. But then we're off for 2 weeks. So we have
the Gym Rat Live as well. I see you guys put that up. So Gym Rat Live is happening for the girls as well.
That same weekend, or it's a different weekend?
22nd, 23rd.
So y'all the weekend before us.
Yeah. So
we might be able to do it. Yeah, me and Bruce might be able to swing out to that.
Yeah. So this was something that they've been asking, and we weren't going to do it because we were supposed to be in Philly to do the Philly face-off, but they moved it to Memorial Weekend. And so they kept calling, and originally it was only going to be 11th grade. So they were like, they wanted one team, but the dude, my man Kenny Pennell, who works for ESPN, those guys came down to Spooky Nook and watched a lot of teams play. And so they were only 11th grade teams originally.
And they started inviting.
And then they invited like 10 or 12 10th grade teams. We were one of the ones to get an invite. So
that's going to be at the Capitol Center for y'all too?
At the Capitol Center as well. So that's going to be huge because you got all top level programs there. So it's not, again, it ain't no cakewalk. If you want the bump, you're going to go in there and find out exactly who you are when you leave there. If you think you're good, you'll know.
You've been seeing college coaches sneaking in tournaments?
Doing what?
You've been seeing college coaches sneaking in tournaments?
Nah, it's been Division II and Division III has been good for a minute. So there's going to be schools there and doing that, and just a lot of communication. Man, I'm just super excited for July. Man, for these kids to have an opportunity to really feel like, okay, there's somebody watching me. I'm hoping it doesn't distract them too much because
they lined up on that sideline in the chairs.
Yeah, they haven't seen coaches in 2 years, so it's going to be a little different. But I'm excited for July, man. Just for them to really see, because as a coach, I get it. When you watch film, it's one thing. You see it, and you're looking at stuff, and you're like, man, is the speed of the game really that fast? Can she really shoot that good?
Yeah, they know.
So the coaches I talk to, they need to see that thing live before they offer that scholarship. I need to see if she really about that bump. If she really about that life, So July is going to be really important, man. So as we build over the next 2 months, it's important for us to play high-level basketball against good competition to get us ready for that.
So 2022, you basically reloaded right up, right?
We did. We had some solid kids still. I mean, we got a good 22 group. I think the loss of Shay and Kaya are clearly, huge. You talking about kids of that magnitude,
They played together 2 years ago?
They did. Last year they played together.
Damn.
So can you imagine that? But think about this. Those two played together with Lexi Rowe, Katie Cunningham, Jess Cook, Amaya Williams. So you talking about you tell me what team
with Nevaeh and Amara? Damn.
You tell me what team in the country is that we not line it up, let's go. With those kids, everybody. You know what I'm saying? So losing Shay and Kaya was big, but we tooled back up. We're good. We're competing at a high level. We got scholarship kids in those teams, and we'll be fine as we go through the season. And we have two 22 teams that are they're very good. We have some very good another 22 team that's very solid. We got kids who have already been offered scholarships on that team. So again, we don't publicize everything until we sign the dot, man. So I know a lot of people like to throw out, we got offers here and there and all that, but so.
It don't matter.
Yeah.
All right, Coach. I'm gonna highlight you this weekend about the stuff you was talking about, because we got to talk.
Appreciate it, man. Definitely, man. Appreciate you bringing me on, man. And man, I'm just really, really proud of you, man, for everything you're doing, man. Your grind and having your family, your kids, and putting this thing together. This is well needed for Central New York, for our city, and for our young people, man. So continue to do what you do, man. And as you know, I'm always there to support and help you in any way, man.
You already know. I got some stuff on the way too. I just got signed off on.
Okay.
Definitely that the website is needed. I'm gonna have a boys and girls section for the website.
Okay. That's what's up.
I gotta get this recruiting paperwork down too, just to let people know that I don't just pick sides and pick choose and got favorites.
Listen, that's the other thing, man. I listen, and I think people don't realize that, man. Like, so everybody out there, you know, Jeff coaches in Nottingham. You know, he's a Nottingham dude, but you don't see him putting up stuff that's, you know, he knows I'm an I-90 guy, but he still puts up stuff about City Rocks, about whoever, man. So, you know, I appreciate that for you, and I don't ever put you no awkward feeling to be like, yo, if a kid comes to Jeff and says, yo, I want to go to City Rocks, Jeff tells him go to City Rocks. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it ain't no, like, it's a business at the end of the day, man. And so I think people need to know that you don't cross any lines. Mm-hmm. You give love to everybody, man. And that's respect, trying to give everybody an opportunity to have a voice and really just have a platform, man. And that's dope, man. That's really dope.
Crazy. I mean, you know, I talked to a lot of coaches, but like you got the Rider up north that hasn't lost a game in 3 years.
Right.
On the boys side, like the Rider boys haven't lost a game in 3 years. And no one knows that.
Wow. And
like you got the West Canada Valley. Them coaches always hit me. Them coaches hit me more than the local coaches because they think they got Syracuse.com to cover everything. But then they'll message me when I repost something and say, why aren't the stats right? If people don't, I don't think people understand that either. I'm not the one. I'm all by myself. I'm not Syracuse.com.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you got to reach out. You got to reach out to those guys. I'm just resharing what they post. But
and what's interesting is it's a learning tool for us because I don't, you know, we as coaches, we don't get a chance to, you know, to plug into that stuff and know about the kids up north and, you know, and the different kids. So it's always a great thing to be able to like, every night I'm like, let me hit up on Jeff, seeing why Hoop Talk and see what he got going on today, because there's always some interesting different things that you put up that we're just not accustomed to seeing or have access to. So that's the thing I think that's really been good for seeing why Hoop Talk. It expands really through Central New York, man, and really deep and gives
that girl. I remember that girl I asked you about that went to Monmouth last year, the big bell girl.
Yeah,
you might have been the only one in the area besides me that knew about her.
Yeah.
And I think she got freshman of the year this year too for that conference.
Sure did, man. And then they just got a new coach, man. My man Craig Carter, who was at Wisconsin, he just became the new head coach over there at Monmouth. Yeah, again, it's all about relationships, man, and keeping tabs with people, man.
You might have told me that the first practice I had with you.
Yeah, so it's really about that, man. So yeah, again, man, appreciate you, brother, man. It's been great.
I'll holler at you this weekend.
Yeah, keep up the good work, man.
All right, coach. I'll talk to you later.
All right, peace.